You mentioned Xi Jinping's goal of having 50,000 American students come over to China in the coming years. This is not just out of the goodness of his heart. This is their Ministry of Education, aka their Ministry of Propaganda, right?
Hello， 大家好，欢迎回到外媒看中国，我是安博然。In case you needed any more proof that Washington and its media has gone totally bonkers, here it is. The Republican representative for Iowa, Ashley Hinson, has appeared on Fox News claiming that China's offer to welcome 50,000 US students to study in China is an attempt at brainwashing, and she wants it stopped. On the contrary, Westerners in general visiting China achieves the exact opposite, allowing them to see the country with their own eyes, literally undoes years of propagandizing by Western media and governments who want to desperately teach their youth that the West is the best and China is a dark, dirty, dangerous dystopia. That's why Representative Ashley Hinson, who claims to have ruffled feathers in the CPC media when I confronted her on Twitter, knows that full well. Today we'll investigate. This is Reports on China. I'm Andy Boreham in Shanghai. Let's get reporting. Late last year, during an official visit to the US, China's President Xi Jinping announced a new initiative that would see 50,000 US students brought to China over the next 5 years on exchange and study programs in a bid to reduce tensions and increase people-to-people exchanges between the two countries. One school principal from the US noted that President Xi is a firm believer in educational exchanges, adding, "It is a life-changing experience, both in terms of the travel itself and the exposure to the culture, the history, and the Chinese people. My students all want to go back to China and study in China." But that's not how the Washington elites in government and media see it. Instead, arguing that cultural exchanges, which, by the way, have been going on for decades and decades, are really a way for China to brainwash American youth. Let's check out this scaremongering from Fox News and a little-known Republican.
If you thought China was only infiltrating the minds of our youth through TikTok, well, you'd be wrong. Wait until you see this. The Chinese Communist Party fully funding multiple field trips for American students to visit China, and it looks like it left quite an impression.
If I had the opportunity, I would love to go to college in China. Honestly, I loved it there.
Xi Jinping often said the young people are our future. Keep this friendship going. Bring new ideas.
Well, he must really be an educator at heart.
谢谢Xi爷爷，长沟很大，也很漂亮。
President Xi announcing that China is preparing to bring 50,000 American students to the communist country over the next 5 years.
And American kids aren't the only ones getting brainwashed. Xi has been using these so-called cultural exchange programs for years to influence school children around the world, just like last week in Hungary.
Joining us now, a member of the House Select Committee on the CCP, Congresswoman Ashley Hinson. Congresswoman, good to see you. As Dagan and I read these headlines, we weren't sure if this was a Saturday Night Live skit or a Babylon Bee article, but this is actually true. Is your committee looking at this, and should America allow its students to go to China at the expense of Xi Jinping?
Well, absolutely, Sean and Dagan. We're just scratching the surface here on the Chinese Communist Party's propaganda, and our committee is absolutely looking into this. You mentioned Xi Jinping's goal of having 50,000 American students come over to China in the coming years. This is not just out of the goodness of his heart. This is their Ministry of Education, aka their Ministry of Propaganda, right? So they want to wash away all of the genocide that's happening, the oppression of the Chinese people. Meanwhile, they're trying to sneak into our universities and our academic institutions to steal our intellectual property, and again, with this influence campaign. So I think we all need to be eyes wide open about this and see it for what it really is. There is no free lunch here. There is no free trip to China.
I don't know whether to laugh or cry, honestly. So what I did was to write to the representative on Twitter. I said, Xi inviting students to China is because he knows that communication and people-to-people exchange, and especially letting American youth who are propagandized by the US media and politicians like you, is the best way to get around the lies and help make the world more stable and peaceful. That is why you're so against it, because you can't keep controlling the narrative if ordinary Americans come to China and see this place for themselves. Genocide in China? Please. I hope the majority of those students go to Xinjiang and then show the world what liars you and others like you are. You should be ashamed of yourself, lady. The following day, the representative reposted my tweet, adding the following: ruffling feathers in the CCP state-owned media is a good indicator you're on the right side of an issue. Those propaganda wheels are always spinning. Quite ironic of her, don't you think? Especially considering she's the one who spends her time spouting propaganda on any news network that will take her. And of course, I had to reply. You know what ruffles my feathers? Seeing so-called politicians blatantly lie on live television and then have the gall to accuse others of propaganda and brainwashing. You clearly spend a lot of time looking in the mirror. Use some of that time to reflect, mind the pun. And what I said is absolutely true. Americans are among the most propagandized peoples in the entire world, with a large percentage believing wholeheartedly that America is the best place on the planet, and that places like China and Russia are dirty, dangerous, dilapidated dystopias. And the reason the Washington elite, including the mainstream media, want to push this lie is because they know just how well places like China are doing, providing their citizens with a much higher standard of living than most places in the US could even dream of. The real reason they're so desperate to keep ordinary Americans away from China is exactly because they're terrified too many people will realize they've been lied to, and then they'll start asking questions about the fundamental nature of Western liberal democracies. Wait a minute, I thought China was a totalitarian hellscape. Why is it so clean? Why is it so modern? Why is everyone so happy? That is the biggest fear for Washington, and even for small fish representatives like Ashley Hinson. Actually, I have a video that shows exactly what the elites in Washington fear the most. Check out this clip of an American family who visited their family member living in China for the first time.
Yeah. So what's something that surprised you guys here?
The technology, definitely.
Technology?
Yeah, the
wow.
high tech. The high tech mixed with the old was amazing to me.
The percentage of people and just how happy in general, overall, the people are. Even in the cities, they seem really friendly.
And now, as a bit of contrast, let's check out this unhinged diatribe from the Fox News presenter who literally posits China as America's #1 enemy.
The first 20 years of my life were during the Cold War with the Soviet Union, Congresswoman, and it was unthinkable that a group of high schoolers would be sent to the Soviet Union on a trip and to, learn Russia and then come back praising Brezhnev as Grandpa Brezhnev speaking Russian. We knew the danger and we knew what was at stake. And the fact that that old woman in that video, was she the principal, doesn't know better? She's lived, she certainly knows the dangers of communism, or she should.
Now, out of those two videos, which do you think is more genuine? Which shows an attitude to the world that promotes peace and understanding? I think it's pretty clear. And on that note, you guys, I better let you go before my blood pressure gets too high. But as always, I'd love to know what you have to say, so please let me know down below. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.